Thank you, Erica. Good morning, and welcome to the second in our series of 5 webinars on digital and people's digital journeys. As Erica said, this one really focuses on some issues that we've come across in the telco sector. And what we'll aim to do over the next 15 or 20 minutes is just give you some thoughts around how the telco sector in particular, but I think it probably applies to others, can address some of the challenges of implementing a digital strategy and seeing tangible results. And we're focusing on one particular aspect here, which is the elimination of waste, which you'll see in a moment is a topic we feel very strongly about, that there are some things that can be done to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of creating digital apps. So we'll look at that in just a moment. So the agenda really is just 3 things. We'll talk a little about the challenges faced by the sector. We'll also give you some tips on how you can perhaps speed up your the delivery of digital solutions at the same time as eliminating waste. And then we'll just give you a short case study to allow you to see how, in fact, another sector, the education sector, is addressing some of these challenges by adopting innovative techniques. So the challenges that we see for the telco sector in particular are these, and it's not a comprehensive list, but certainly the top 3 that we seem to be coming across again and again with clients that we talk to and work with in the sector. Number 1 is really the adoption or adapting to changing consumer behaviors, and the fact that consumers are adopting multiple channels, multiple platforms, multiple devices, and want interaction to happen when and where they want it to happen, not necessarily where the telco does. The second one is around really fostering innovation and bringing innovation to the table within organizations, particularly well-established telcos, which perhaps have started out being public sector organizations and turned into private sector organizations. There is a legacy of culture which makes it quite challenging to innovate. And then thirdly, due to their age, perhaps the business models that exist in telcos have been around for a long time, and there's an operational legacy, if you like, which has to be addressed. And we've got some thoughts on how that plays out as well. So we put elimination of waste in the title of this webinar for good reason. And this does not necessarily just apply, by the way, to the telco sector, but certainly there is a huge body of evidence now that there is a massive amount of waste created in the software development process, even when it's done in an agile and lean way. The Standish Group, who have been following the progress of software development now for over 20 years, have got a huge amount of data that backs this up as well. And the truth is that about 2/3 of the software that's written is never actually used. There's a massive amount of code that's created that doesn't really form any kind of perform any useful purpose as far as users are concerned. So what can we do about that? Really, we've got to try and overcome that, because if we can, it's going to provide competitive advantage, but it would also potentially provide survival for a lot of IT departments that are trying to deliver outcomes for their businesses. So how can we adapt to the digital customer? It's really about trying to enhance the customer experience, improve the journey that customers have to organizations. Digital software is a natural fit for that if it can be developed in a way which meets the needs and the values that customers have. Fostering an innovative culture really is about recognizing that it's actually okay to fail. If you can fail fast, learn from that, and keep on delivering outcomes that users and customers really do want, you're beginning to actually foster an innovation culture. You're making it okay to fail. You're making it okay to be producing small wins very rapidly and seeing a tangible improvement in quality. So what can be done about business models? I mean, it's difficult for established telcos to actually change their business model on the fly. But simply having a strategy which thinks digital first can begin to make those changes actually happen. We've seen in a number of our large enterprise clients, again, not just telcos, where they've got a very strong digital agenda. It does have a kind of a percolating effect. It's a knock-on effect within those organizations to improve the way that they engage with their end users and customers. So how can we actually go about doing this? Here are some tips that we'd like to share with you from our own experience. So as I've just said, from a strategic point of view, if you can think digital first and have a very clear purpose that everyone buys into, and not complicated, keep it simple, with very clear outcomes, it begins to become a very, very compelling thing, and people tend to get on the bus and want to be part of that. One of our clients is Monash University, and Trevor Woods, the CIO there, uses this phrase to kind of embody that, which is he doesn't necessarily have a map. He doesn't have a sort of strategic roadmap of how he's going to get to his digital nirvana, but he's got a compass and he knows where north is. He knows exactly where the destination is that he's heading for. And he uses that as a good metaphor really to try and help people become innovative and creative in their thinking, you know, making sure that when they're trying to execute aspects of their digital strategy, it's got to be aligned to the direction of the compass. Where is it they're actually headed? The second tip we give you is this one around an innovation culture. So we strongly believe that innovation teams should be built in, not bolted onto organizations. They should be there to enable and not to augment. And backing this up is something we saw from Paul Shetler, who's we've worked with on a couple of occasions now. Paul is the ex-chief innovation officer for the Australian government and has done work internationally. And he firmly believes that there's a need to create small teams that are focused on delivering small wins in an incremental way, giving them a very clear mandate to deliver minimum viable products quickly so that there can be evidence of the benefit of digital and to back up the business case. And then the third thing really is to think and act digital. So this is about being able to demonstrably produce an impact every day, thinking in terms of hours and days, not weeks and months. So it's about the pace at which this is done, removing barriers, very, very important, keeping it simple and doing very, very rapid iterations. If you think of the traditional agile model, before the actual agile bit starts, there's usually 6 to 9 months worth of work just putting together the business case and the scope of the project and defining where the funding's going to come from and getting a business case signed off before the actual agile sprint stuff starts. And those sprints typically tend to be 2-week sprints, stand-up meetings daily. These are fairly traditional agile aspects of projects that we come across. A more enlightened way to do it, we believe, is to take it beyond agile, is to think in terms of what can actually be done in a matter of hours and days rather than weeks and months, and actually start doing that very quickly. So in a beyond agile environment, we typically would get involved with a business owner, with the business problem owner, day one, only spend a couple of hours with them defining exactly what the problem is, what's the outcome that they want to see, where are the first users that we can engage with within the first 24 hours, and what are the core capabilities that we need to, or the core features that we need to build into the product. And then actually start doing iterations on a 2-day or 3-day basis. So producing software production releases as many as 2 or 3 a day in some instances, because that actually provides tangible results and becomes very compelling, and it doesn't require a massive amount of budget to actually kick the thing off. So we've seen this kind of tight iteration approach producing really tangible results very, very rapidly is beginning to provide advantages for organizations that adopt the approach. We're big fans of the original Agile Manifesto, and we've kind of revisited so the four main values of the Agile Manifesto that was created nearly 17 years ago now. And those were really four things. Number one is, the focus has to be on users before you start looking at processes. And if you can focus and identify how a user is going to engage with a product or a solution, you're well down that path. Producing working software rather than documentation. We're not a massive fan of documentation, I have to say, but we believe that if you've got a working software solution, that's much more powerful than having a fully scoped version of what you think the solution needs to look like. Learning by doing, so being prepared to do stuff. Not all of it will work, but doing something, collaborating with customers and with the business in order to produce an outcome is far, far more productive and tangible than a theoretical business model or a theoretical scope. And then finally, removing complexity. So again, one of the mistakes that we've seen repeated again and again with Agile projects is a belief that we have to integrate the solution from day one. It has to be part of the infrastructure. Our experience has been actually if you focus on developing something that's outside the infrastructure of an organization, you can again get much quicker buy-in to then integrating it fully to an enterprise environment. So the results of this really are, number one, solutions that users actually want to use. People can be quite discerning about the digital products and services that we deliver, but if you're involving users in the actual design and the development all the way through a project, far more likely to see them adopted. It's a less risky approach, and there's far less waste in this because we're only actually doing coding that we know users are going to use. So it reduces the risk and it reduces the cost. And of course, it's much shorter timescales and a far, far better user experience at the end of it. Right, so I hope that gave you a little insight into how we believe this Beyond Agile approach can really deliver some tangible results in a very short period of time. In that example, just 5 days. But typically, over a 2 or 3 week period, we can see some comparisons to traditional Agile, which would suggest we can do the same thing in 3 weeks that perhaps would take up to 8 to 10 weeks in a traditional Agile world. And obviously, the faster we get to a usable solution, the better it is for all concerned. So look, just in summary, I think I'd ask you to perhaps ask a few questions of your own organizations, which is, what are the tangible results that you've got from your digital strategy so far? Can you see the impact that it's having on users and on customers? And what are the results? So are there any sort of unforeseen delays in that, particularly in some of the larger projects that your organizations might have been involved in? And can you actually quantify and see where that waste is? Because, if a project has run on for, say, 9 months, the chances are at least 4 or 5 months of that time will have been generating software that would not be used for an end user or a customer. And then, what are the next steps? Well, is it time to have a look at alternatives? Even if you're just doing a sort of a compare and contrast, it doesn't take a lot of budget to actually put this kind of thing to the test, particularly if you're just looking at trying to provide a proof of concept or a minimum viable product. That can be done in a matter of days and weeks rather than months. So look, if any of this is ringing bells within your organization or ringing bells in your own heads around your particular organization, please do get in touch, and we'll see if we can help you accelerate your own digital journeys. Goodbye for now.